Hello guys, how you doing? It is Dom here. It is Smackdown, the first Smackdown after the Royal Rumble. We are here to review the next steps in the Bloodline saga with Sami Zayn. We are here to review whatever is next for this weird, quirky Bray Wyatt story that is going on SmackDown. We are to review the February 3rd episode of SmackDown. It is February 3rd in the US, February 4th here in the UK. And whatever time it is, we are going to be here for you guys to cover this SmackDown right after this message from one Darby Allin. All right.
God, I just listened to this whole podcast. It was terrible. I feel like my ears are gonna bleed.
What'd you say? This is Darby Allin, and you're listening to Give Me a Whole Yeah podcast.
All right. I was super tired before that intro started, and Darby's got me ready to go for SmackDown. We do have a special guest, which I'm going to bring in for you at the moment. Mr. Andy Spores from Rush on Rock is back to join me on SmackDown as Sam Smith is taking a rest tonight because he's interviewing Josh Alexander from Impact Wrestling tomorrow in Manchester. So he's having a little bit of a rest. He wants to get that right. He's going to go and chill with the Impact World Champion. So it was going to be me on my own, but Andy has come to save the day. Hello, Andy. How you doing, mate?
Good evening, good morning, or
mate,
whatever time you kind of want to go with.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, isn't it? It's a bit of both, mate. How are you feeling? You're looking very dark, very mysterious there in that dark and mysterious background room you're in, whatever that is.
Well, I took a leaf out of your book, and it's there's now a dark wall behind me. I know you've got yours kind of packed away tonight, but unfortunately, my background is becoming increasingly littered with baby stuff ahead of the arrival in 2 weeks' time. So I thought I'd best throw a screen up. People don't need to see a pram and stuff like that in the background. So no mystery here. Just trying to keep everyone from having a nice background to one.
It looks good. It looks nice. It looks smooth. I like it. Yeah. I like I say, sometimes I have it up, particularly if I've had a day counselling. I usually keep it up, but yeah, I'm letting you guys peek behind the curtain. What am I on about? You guys know what my home office looks like. It's just full of figures and books and comic books and all that stuff, and my fancy National Diversity Award, which I like to plug occasionally. I have my National Diversity Award there, but yeah, more importantly than all that, you are here, mate. Thank you for coming to my aid. You are the Undertaker to my Kane, the Mick Foley to my Stone Cold, the Kevin Owens to my Sami Zayn, or there and thereabouts. Andy, it's been a while. We caught up briefly just before the Rumble on our friend's stream. We did a lot of pre-predictions, things like that. It was interesting. Good time. The Rumble was great. But it's the first time I've caught up with you properly. How are you feeling? We're a week removed. Raw was good from what I saw of it. But SmackDown, this is where the meat and potatoes of the wrestling, wrestling storylines are. The most prominent wrestling storylines, of course, Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, if he's still involved, and of course, rightly or wrongly at the moment, the Bray Wyatt storyline. So Andy, what are your takeaways from the Rumble? How are you feeling a week on? Are we expecting an exciting night tonight?
I hope so. I think it's one of those ones where tuning in tonight because Raw was okay, but as you said, the majority of the storylines I think people are really invested in live and breathe on SmackDown at the moment. So Raw has had its usual its usual kind of come down of like his Cody and his Rhea doing their announcements. But yeah, it's interesting to see tonight how we progress storylines across that people are really invested in. It's been 6 days since the Rumble. I have not stopped thinking about that ending. I've rewatched it with my wife as well, because she's always likes to see the Rumble matches themselves and see who wins. And I'm always interested to see from someone who doesn't really kind of keep up with it on a week-to-week basis how that's actually. Sorry, I was just seeing those messages come in as well. Yeah, it's interesting from an outsider's perspective, as it were, how that's perceived. So seeing Cody win it to someone who hasn't really followed that story was interesting. But yeah, that ending after the main event, I think I must have watched it on socials about 50 odd times just for that pop.
Yeah, just next level stuff, mate. Next level stuff, and again, it's great to have you back here. Again, outside of wrestling, how have you been? How are you getting on, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. As I say, had a scan this week for to say hello to the little one who say it'll be 2 weeks and be joining us on the 17th. So I may be kind of out of action for a week or two. But who knows, because they sleep when they want, and then you kind of live by what they go by. So a lot of my kind of life at the moment is just getting ready for that. I did manage to get myself to the cinema earlier, so and it was vaguely wrestling related, as I watched Knock at the Cabin starring Dave Bautista.
Yeah, I hear good things about that. Was it everything that you thought it was going to be? Was it as good or as not so good as you thought it might be?
It's an interesting one, because I do still enjoy M. Night Shyamalan films. Not as much as when you go back to his earlier stuff, where it's like Unbreakable or Sixth Sense. And especially for me, like, I know it's kind of divisive. I love this. I love Signs and even The Village as well. But the one tonight, I thought had a really good premise. I thought Dave Bautista was very good. Jonathan Groff was very good. Maybe lacked a little bit of heart that I would have liked to have seen, but not a bad effort compared to his recent stuff. So yeah, definitely worth a watch if you fancy a trip to the cinema. It's got a kind of good storyline behind it, so definitely worth going if you're in the into your cinema.
Yeah, I've heard really good things, and I am a fan of Dave Bautista's acting. I think he is he is the greatest wrestler turned actor. Obviously you can make a case for Dwayne. Of course you can. I mean, obviously the most notable is Dwayne Johnson, but in terms of skill, personally, to my taste, it is Dave Bautista. But obviously that is a debate that we could have. Maybe I'll put a poll in the comments when we get started, just for fun, to see if you guys want to vote on who you think the better actor and performer is. We are obviously a few minutes away from Smackdown, so it's going to be very exciting. What do you think? Are we going to see? Because they could, Andy, be keeping us waiting. This is, these are two. We mentioned those two storylines there. They could leave them off feasibly for a week. They could, could wet our whistles, our collective whistles, and leave them off for a week and get away with that. Probably. Are we going to get answers to these storylines tonight? Are we going to get further exposition on them? Do you think the Roman Reigns one, and of course Roman Reigns, Sami, and Bray Wyatt as well?
Yeah, I mean they all are supposed to be there. So it'd be interesting to see how they kind of go down, because they've got very short turnaround time between Rumble and Elimination Chamber. We're what, 2 weeks away from Elimination Chamber? It's on the 18th of February, I believe. So they have to kind of keep it moving, because yes, they've done very well. As we see, the opening for SmackDown is kind of recapping that ending to the Royal Rumble and the kind of beat down on Kevin Owens, etc. from there. But yeah, they really don't have long to kind of sell this story even further. So if they want people to tune in and capitalize on what they have achieved, then they need to edge it forward. It doesn't have to be everything, but enough for people to keep coming back each week, especially in the build up to Mania.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I often say, when Sam's with me and when you're with me as well, I feel so privileged to be doing this show, of the shows that are available. Obviously Anthony covers your AEW Dynamite, Dan covers your Mondays. I think this show is the best of the week. I think it's got the best segments of the week. I think it's certainly the most interesting show. And like I say, testament to that is what we're walking into. With Elimination Chamber coming up in a couple of weeks, and we're getting a recap of these stories. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, Andy, if we had Roman Reigns out first, Sami Zayn out first. You know, we've discussed. You're looking forward to the Sami stuff, the Roman stuff, and obviously that's what we're recapping. It is giving time now. The show is giving time to recapping the whole segment or there and thereabouts of the Sami Zayn turning on the Bloodline bit at the Rumble. So you're looking forward to this. What about the arguably the second most talked about story, rightly or wrongly, the Bray Wyatt stuff? I very much, I'm a big fan, as you know. We've talked about our interest in the characters, but the gimmick match really didn't impress me, and there's talk of another one. You know, WWE are trying to monetize these gimmick matches now for sponsors, and it really didn't impress me. Andy, how are you feeling about? Do you have a good taste in your mouth, a Mountain Dew pitch black taste, you might say, or a bad bitter taste in your mouth off the back of that match?
I think what you're alluding to there is it a toasted cinnamon crunch or something that's been rumored to be right, like the next one up? It doesn't interest me. I also saw stories of that they'll probably be looking into having turnbuckle sponsored, or the mat sponsored, or aprons and etc. And I get it from a business perspective. They want to make themselves attractive. And sorry, just to slightly segue, we're opening the show with Kayla Braxton outside the arena.
There we go.
Awaiting the arrival of the Bloodline. So a nice old school way of dealing with it.
All right, here we go. Yeah. Well, we're getting the Bloodline to open the show. Very nice. Okay, so Solo Sikoa's come out. The Usos as well. Solo opening the door for Roman Reigns. Kayla trying to get a word. Roman going straight past, more or less. Doesn't want to talk to Kayla. Such a cold-blooded question.
Playing a little bit on the old talking smack relationship between Kayla Braxton and Paul Heyman when they did that, which was excellent at the time. Basically, no comment from Paul Heyman on behalf of the Bloodline.
Yeah, again, very interesting point you make there about Kayla and Paul's relationship. A nice little sort of linking back there to a bit of history. Paul Heyman, I expect to say a lot tonight on behalf of Roman Reigns. But yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see if you know how quickly they come onto the show, whether it's going to be a beginning or an end, because it usually is either or with the Bloodline. Are we starting this with the Bloodline coming out to the ring, for example, or are we ending it with that? And again, a lot of interesting questions to be answered tonight, Andy. And as we see the Smackdown opening screen.
I also realised I completely skirted your question. I thought visually. I'll try and start on a positive. I thought visually there was some really cool aspects of that match between Bray Wyatt and LA Knight, and that's where it kind of begins and ends, unfortunately. I did read somewhere that apparently, I think it was John, when we did the review show earlier in the week of the Royal Rumble for Wrestling Royalty, they said it was the time it took Roman to get to the ring was actually longer than the match between Bray Wyatt and LA Knight.
Oh dear. As we're getting a notification there that Roman Reigns will address the state of the Bloodline, but that is quite telling, isn't it? You know, Bray Wyatt's first match back, and you know, he's given the same amount of time as Roman is given to make his entrance, Andy, as Braun Strowman, the monster of all monsters, with his tag team partner Ricochet, are out here. I'm assuming are they? Oh, that was interesting. There was Braun Strowman went to fist bump Ricochet, and I think he just whacked him in the chest. And there's the double arms up with Ricochet, looking slightly different, but they kind of look the same. They kind of look very similar. but obviously different statures. But they have a similar look, similar beard, similar head, of course. Are they must be challenging or getting close to a tag team championship shot. This is WWE by numbers, isn't it? This is the sort of tag team that WWE loves and has loved through history, right from modern, sort of not modern day being the last sort of 20, 30 years. Razor Ramon 1, 2, 3 Kid is a classic one of my favorite ones. Of course, you can harken back to loads of big and small athlete performer teams that have done very, very well. The sort of high flying combo with the power. Promising. Ricochet and Braun Strowman, giving them both something to do. Both of them obviously major players now on WWE television, which is something I'm really happy to say about Ricochet. But yeah, going back to my question, which I've waffled on, they've got to be close to a tag title shot, haven't they, Andy?
Well, I believe is this not the continuation of the Smackdown tournament with them facing off against Imperium?
Oh yeah.
So these were the kind of like last minute entrants when I believe was it Drew and Sheamus were attacked by the Viking Raiders and were replaced very last minute. So in terms of putting them together, it's not the worst way I've seen two random superstars kind of thrown into a team. They had their own. They kind of came out and made the save one week after another for the other one. It's not organic, as it were, and it feels slightly clunky to kind of throw them together. But yeah, as you said, looks wise, they're not too far away. They're slightly bizarro versions of each other, I guess. But I also quite like the idea that one's a big kind of brute of a guy and he's very kind of like powerhouse, and then you got Ricochet's athleticism. They showed that spot with Logan Paul a couple of times there, which was absolutely astonishing. And I actually thought, I don't know about yourself, I'd love to hear your take on it. Logan Paul actually got higher than Ricochet and probably a little bit further across the ring. So,
there you go.
Fair play there. What did you think of that spot?
I mean, you can't deny it. He's so good. I mean, Logan Paul is so good. Like, it's sickening how good he is. Just sickening how good that Logan Paul is, and he was amazing. That spot was one of the highlights of the Rumble, and I think it's worth talking as Braun showing off his strength here. Obviously, Gunther is there at ringside with Imperium. What a wonderful showing for Gunther, of course. The former Walter NXT UK champion. What arguably one of the best NXT call-ups, I would say, in history in terms of how he's been handled. Better than Shinsuke, better than a lot of other people that that again had that main event potential. Gunther, you've got to say, probably isn't that long away from a big main event push. I imagine he's going to hold on to that Intercontinental Championship, and I would, if I was WWE. I'd keep it on him. I'd keep it on him so he becomes the longest Intercontinental Champion reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. That was a wonderful show in the Rumble from Gunther.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I read that he's already moved into top 10 in terms of how long he's held the Intercontinental, and he's not that far away from being number one. I don't think that it's like horrifically long reigns that they've had as Intercontinental Champion. So it wouldn't surprise me if they keep it on him until he gets that record, because then he's building up a sort of legacy, isn't he, from having the NXT UK title for that long and being kind of one of the longest reigning modern champions. Doing the same with the Intercontinental would be pretty cool, and then moving into dominance across the board. The one that it's an interesting. I heard one slight criticism that I do tend to agree with about the psychology of a heel being number one and going about an hour and was it 11 minutes, and beaten by the babyface coming out as number 30, who actually only had to put in about sort of 20 minutes work. That's an interesting kind of take, because normally you'd expect it to be the other way around. So psychology wise, it's testament to him as a wrestler and as a superstar that he could pull that off, because he didn't look gassed at all. Like, he's got such a tank like inside him to kind of be able to go that long, and he just wasn't blowing out. Like, you saw Sheamus was number 2, And there were times in that match where he was gasping in the corner and he just seemed to be kind of crawling around and doing it at his own speed. Gunther was very rarely out of the corners, which you normally see. So, like, fair play to him. What a showing, as you say. Just all the kind of faith that Triple H and even Vince, to a certain degree, has put in him is paying off because he just looks a star.
Yeah, I think every point you make there is interesting, and that ring psychology around the Rumble, and it is a really interesting thought. That again, it sort of vaguely crossed my mind, but very interesting to hear that amount of reflection on it. Again, having that, again, Gunther did the work, put everything into that, and again, Cody, for all that people are talking about his, his probable eventual WrestleMania, triumph, he didn't have to work very hard for it, and Anthony made that point to me earlier. Actually, I believe Anthony is still in, and Anthony was the one that put the poll up earlier saying that, credit to Anthony, that there was a poll about the Rock. You guys said the Rock is the better actor performer, and you could tell it was Anthony because he also put Sonny and China in there. Now, you've also misspelt China, Anthony. So please, if you're going to put polls up, get your spellings right. Thank you very much. But yeah, you all said The Rock. So my Batista pick is void according to the Hulkamaniacs. And I've lost my train of thought, Andy. But my point was that. What was my point? I'm so tired. I was having a nice nap with Emma, right? I was having a nice nap with Emma before this, and I was like, I woke up and I actually felt sick because I was so comfortable and like ready to sleep.
Oh, man, yeah.
And I pulled myself out of bed to come and do this, and I'm like proper tired. But yeah, Gunther, I don't know how we segue from the poll of best performer to Gunther, but here we are. Gunther is an incredible performer, and not very far away at all from the main event. And I was talking, that was it. There you go. I was talking to Anthony about this and about how, Cody, one of the things that makes him think that Cody won't win at Mania is that he hasn't had to put the work in. He didn't come in at 1. And the issue is that because he didn't put the work in, and Cody loves to put the work in, then it's an arguable point that he won't win at Mania because he needs to do that. He needs to put that time in,
Yeah, I get that. And a lot of me would agree as well. But there's another perspective that I would maybe look at is that with Cody, he got off to such a hot start in the feud with Seth Rollins that he put on, 2, maybe 3 contenders for match of the year. For 2022, and then got that injury. Now maybe it's a case of let's just manage expectation a little bit. Let's just kind of drip Cody back in because we don't want to kind of over egg the pudding, and it's important to kind of have him out there. But by what you said earlier, Cody loves to put the hard work in. It sounds like he's probably going to be having matches on Raw most of the time. But when you think about Roman versus Cody, you kind of want it to be grand and epic, and the best way to do that is to maybe not have him kind of feature too heavily. And I think had they made him go an hour in the Rumble, like, you maybe would have had a little bit of we know exactly which way this is going, we're making sure that people know that, and as I can see there from Mark, maybe it was a little reward for going through that Hell in a Cell match injured, because he probably made it worse. He definitely made it worse, that injury. There's no way he couldn't have done. So it might have been a kind of little nod to saying thank you for putting yourself through that. We very much appreciate it. Here's like a little bit, because man, I don't know about you, but watching him take Gunther's chops as we come back onto SmackDown from the break, that was brutal. Like, every time he would take a chop to his pec, I was wincing, and then by the end, seeing his chest burn up, I was like, nah.
Yeah, man. Any time I've seen anybody that faces Gunther, man, is going to struggle with with those chops. They are the best and most intense chops in all of wrestling, I believe, Gunther's chops. So yeah, I look at, particularly like a Sheamus chest and other people's chest when they've taken it, and Cody's, exactly like you say, wincing wincing for the Gunther chops on Cody. But again, great, great for us as spectators that don't have to live through it, so we don't have to take one ourselves. But again, it made everything all the more meaningful and impactful when Cody did get the win, because we've obviously we have kind of gone on a journey with Cody, whether it's through video packages or obviously the matches against Seth. It does feel like Cody is, at the culmination of a journey to get to this point, even though, it probably didn't go his way. He wanted to be wrestling every week. And of course, he's only had a few matches with Seth. So, but it still feels like it's an important journey for Cody to be on.
And we're seeing in the ring at the moment, probably not many examples of miscommunication between Imperium, but that was a nice little spot with they were going for Ricochet was down in their corner of it, and seeing them both go for a drop kick. Ricochet moved out the way and ended up drop kicking effectively each other. So yeah, an interesting moment to see some miscommunication. So Gunther now getting involved by pushing. Referee even a bit lenient, but I think he's about to get thrown out of the match here.
Yeah, there you go. Ricochet going down, probably for comedic effect and to make sure the referee knows. Gunther did that push. Gunther is out of there. Ricochet with that wonderful move, that wonderful springboard, assisted by Braun Strowman earlier on as well outside. I mean, Ricochet is still, even though he's now getting featured on television more regularly, Andy, still criminally underrated for me. He's such a great talent,
Yeah, I think it's very difficult with him. He makes everything look so easy that you sometimes forget actually what he's doing is ridiculous. That running shooting star press that he does is so slick. It looks really cool.
Incredible.
I would have a question for you though. What as we go to another break, what would you like to see Gunther involved in at Mania?
That's it's a very interesting question. There's a couple of things that have happened for the last years. The championship match, the ladder match, the Intercontinental Championship ladder matches that have happened. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Gunther in that kind of situation. Even though he's a bigger dude, I think he would thrive in that. Bigger in terms of taller, in terms of his frame. I think he could thrive in that environment. He could put some people over. I think it would give a lot of other people on the card an opportunity to be on the card. There's arguments for Strowman versus Gunther. There's arguments for numerous people. Sheamus versus Gunther. Sheamus finally getting his Intercontinental Championship run, but if that happened, he wouldn't beat the record. If he did get that at Mania, if Sheamus did get that moment. So for me, something like having a Ricochet, having a Strowman, having a Sheamus, all in and a few other people all compete to be in an Intercontinental Championship ladder match. That would be just Drew in there as well, as Mark says, Drew in there. Phillips talking about Randy. I'm not sure about Randy dethroning Roman, but certainly it'd be an interesting spot for Randy to be in the card if he came back. There's a lot of spaces you can fill in that sort of 7-person ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. It's a big spot. It's a big opportunity for people to showcase their skills. So I think that would be where I would put Gunther, and of course, again, 6 other people who need a WrestleMania spot, really, who have a lot of momentum. So yeah, your Strowmans, your Ricochets, your Sheamuses, Drew even there in there as well could go in there, So that's what I would think. What about you, mate?
Well, I mean, one of the standout moments from the men's Royal Rumble for me, I just got goosebumps when Brock Lesnar faced up to Gunther, and it's maybe one of those ones where they'd have to tidy away the Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar one at Elimination Chamber to get there. But certainly that moment of them, the two of them staring down, I was like, "Give me it,
give it to me now, give me what I want."
Give me big meaty men slapping meat, as Big E says. I love that what he says on that video. And just seeing the two of them, I was like, actually, you know what? I'm all in on this, because the look of Brock Lesnar kind of like, staring him up and down, like smiling, saying, all right, yeah. And you kind of like, you know what you're doing, teasing this. But yeah, give it to me. Like, that's what I want to see. Like, I completely appreciate what you're saying. there's many people that they need to get on that WrestleMania card, and a ladder match. I love ladder matches. I'd love to see it at Mania, but I think just a little bit more for me is Brock versus Gunther.
No, I mean that is a WrestleMania caliber match. I'm sure Brock Lesnar won't want to miss out on a WrestleMania payday. So yeah, I think if you look at it like that, I mean, what better, what better match to give Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? I think it's either or for me. It's either or for me. It's, one or the other, but both of them are okay. You put
you're
Brock
going to
Lesnar,
get a good match, aren't you?
Oh yeah. Put Brock Lesnar in there too. What we got there? So we got Drew. So you have Gunther, Drew, Sheamus, Ricochet, Braun. So yeah, you could fit. I mean, it's a bit. It seems like a little bit. I don't think Brock Lesnar would go for it necessarily, because obviously he'd be a part of a much bigger match, in terms of 7 other people. Or sorry, 6 other people. But I mean, hell, it would be interesting. Put Brock Lesnar in the ladder match. But yeah, I think a lot of people would be more interested in a one-on-one match. You're right. And again, Brock Lesnar needs a spot on that card to sell those tickets. So. If I had to pick between the two, what they would do is they'd probably put Lesnar and Gunther in in that match as a one-on-one. But then I think the ladder match has kind of been a tradition for the last few years, the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. So I don't know, but again, either or works for me. So we're spoiled for choice, I think, heading into WrestleMania.
We're definitely in fantasy booking territory now for WrestleMania. It's all kind of guns blazing towards it, and it's going to be interesting to see how they shake things out, because there's still a few people I know we've talked about before that are kind of who are they going against, that it could go either way sort of thing. And even this match to a degree is like, what do you do? We need to kind of see how things unravel tonight with Bloodline and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn before we know where the tag team divisions go in. And this is the finals of the tag division for SmackDown, I believe. It's just the SmackDown one. So will they split the belts up before WrestleMania? Will they split the belts up at WrestleMania? Maybe we all think Roman's wrestling on both nights. Maybe the Usos are going to do 2 nights because that would be a way to kind of split that up as well. So yeah, what's going to come out in the wash really? Because we're getting a long tag team wrestling match here, and we've got a lot of focus on it the other week as well. So it's great to see.
I think you're right, and I think, like I say, Braun and Ricochet, certainly a WWE, concoction like we talked about earlier, and I could see them going against the Usos, maybe even beating the Usos if the Usos have tension, because they love Braun, and the people also love Ricochet. So I could see, again, for better or worse, Ricochet and Braun actually taking the SmackDown tag titles, because I think they're winning tonight. Again, you're not going to have Imperium. I mean, in terms of a pure wrestling match, that's certainly more interesting, Imperium versus the Usos. But the fan heat will be on the Bloodline at the moment, so they're going to be the heels in this equation. So it looks like, Andy, that Braun, who's channeling his inner Wardlow, is with the Powerbomb Symphony that he's hinting at there. Big powerbomb to Ludwig Kaiser, and Ricochet heading up. Ricochet doing his best Alexa Bliss impression, and going on the shoulders of Braun Strowman. A sort of a swanton bomb type thing. 1, 2, 3. There we go. That again, not necessarily an impactful move, but certainly one that's is going to impress. Going to give the crowd something to cheer. Having Braun do that, Ricochet and Braun hugging it out. Both of them are super buzzed to be potential tag team champions, Andy. That it makes sense. WWE by numbers, having Braun and Ricochet win the big little, and I use that term because that was what Braun and Alexa were called. The bigger performer, the smaller performer. I mean, actually, on the replay, that actually looks more impressive than it did at first. Ricochet.
It did, yeah, you're right.
coming off the shoulders of Braun. So the next week, tag team championships, Braun and Ricochet. Guys, I mean, there's a lot of tension in the bloodline. This could be the week, and I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in Iceland. So Sam Smith has agreed to he will be handling SmackDown next week. Whether I don't want to, I don't want to say that Andy's going to be here because obviously he's got a busy few weeks as well coming up. But somebody will be here, is what I'm trying to say. Somebody will be here for you to cover SmackDown next week, as I will be in Iceland, and that will be a tasty match. And I'm going to predict you guys that right now. I'm not putting any testicles on the line. Sometimes I like to do that, but I'm not doing it. But I'm not that confident. But Braun Strowman and Ricochet, it seems like the time they could take it. This dissension in the bloodline, confusion. Maybe that's going to be it. Maybe Braun Strowman and Ricochet will take the tag titles next week, Andy.
Yeah, I completely get what you mean. That you can kind of see them sneaking in while there's dissension in the ranks, and there's a fox in the hen house, as it were, and maybe stealing them away. And I wouldn't be against it. Like, maybe it is time to start playing a little bit more into that kind of implosion of the bloodline, as it were. And I think that's what they kind of went with, and that's the title I certainly went with when I was writing the kind of feature on the Royal Rumble. But you wouldn't bet. I would definitely not bet against it, to be honest, for next week. What's that, 1 week out from Elimination Chamber, and it just gives you a little chance to sow that seed even further. So, good shout. Good shout. Maybe you could put your balls on it. I think you could. I think you might get away with that one.
Maybe, but I still would prefer to keep, just in case. I mean, I've been pretty lucky so far. Especially over on the Insiders and their Bray Wyatt show. I've bet my testicles a couple of times, and I'm glad they are still remaining. So, and I've learnt my lesson. I'd like to think since Christmas of last year, I'm older and wiser. It's been a long time. Been a few months, and I've grown and changed, and I don't put my testicles on the line quite so regularly these days, Andy. But there's a couple of questions in the chat. But where's Pat McAfee? Well, Pat McAfee, obviously getting that Royal Rumble payday coming back for the Royal Rumble. Pat McAfee is still doing. I believe he's still working in football, and he's got a very cushy presenting gig elsewhere. And I do not believe he's given that up. I can't remember the specific platform he's working for, but it certainly is something that that he's still doing and actively still doing, but obviously came back as a special thing for the Royal Rumble. As far as I'm aware, Michael. Mark says PW Unlimited saying Cena and Theory is locked in for Mania. Not surprised, Mark. It's a good match. People want to see it. You get John Cena at WrestleMania. You get the rub of putting over Austin Theory. Makes total sense from a booking standpoint, from a business standpoint, to have Theory versus Cena at Mania. Michael also asking, am I going live for NXT tomorrow? I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't thought about doing it. I may or may not decide to do it. I do not know yet, Michael. I had planned to stay in bed and cuddle Emma. But last minute, I might decide to. There's some interesting matches on the back of that. It could be the time that Bron Breakker is brought up to the main roster. He obviously beat what's his name? Who he's facing tomorrow? The
Grayson Waller.
Grayson Waller. There you go. So he's beaten Grayson Waller once, but it's interesting that there's a steel cage, and interesting there is a rematch for Grayson Waller. So interesting. So I think Grayson might actually take it tomorrow. So we'll have to see. I may do. I will let you know as early as I possibly can do if I decide to go live for NXT tomorrow. As we currently have Charlotte and Sonya Deville on the screen. They are obviously prepping for a match coming up, I imagine, at the Chamber, I would say.
It's always supposed to tonight, isn't it?
Tonight. Oh, right. It's tonight. You're right. It is tonight. You're right. Thank you, mate. This is why you're here, to keep me on the straight and narrow with your excellent wrestling knowledge. And
I was having a look on Twitter earlier, and they're running this angle about there's been something at the NASCAR Coliseum or whatever it's called, where Rey clashed with Dom, but Rey was kind of with the New Day. So I presume we might even get a Rey and New Day versus Judgment Day match at some point, because there
I
seems
think
to
that's
be running that
interesting.
angle.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. Yeah, that'd be cool. It is tonight. Thank you very much. I believe we get the debut of Dragon Lee tomorrow on NXT. That'd be really cool. There's also a couple of other names I've been really interested in because they showed up on NXT the screens a few months ago, and that is Vincent and Dutch from Ring of Honor. I want to see how they did. I want to hear how they did on their tryouts. I love them in Ring of Honor, of course. As you guys know, very similar characters to Bray Wyatt. I am naturally drawn to those kind of darker characters myself, and I'd love to see them show up on NXT at some point, because Vincent particularly is a very interesting character. Dutch as well is a really talented big dude. So, Dragon Lee, very, very excited. And you know what? The more I think about it, the more I think I might actually do it. But we'll have to, again, I'll make my decision when I've slept on it and how tired I am tomorrow. So because I am rehearsing on Sunday with a new project as well. So we'll have to see how we get on. But again, you'll know as early as you possibly can. I'll let you know if I decide to do it. Mark is as well. Vince will step away again. Wants to be a soul. Yeah, I heard that too. There is more stuff coming out each day about Vince, and it is your decision to make. Chat Holomaniacs, it's your decision to make as to what you think about those things and those accusations. But WWE certainly isn't suffering creatively at the moment under the guard of Triple H, and obviously there was talk of Vince inheriting, talk of him kind of muscling in on the creative stuff, and that hasn't happened. Triple H has stayed true to what has been reported, that he's been told anyway. You can tell Dan Reed isn't here yet. What has been reported that's been told to journalists and to others that again, Triple H is still very much in control of creative, and Vince hasn't got in to that side of things yet, and is obviously purely there for the sale. So I don't think the on-screen product has suffered at all. I think it's been benefited. I think it's been a great time to be a wrestling fan. Me and Andy have talked for many weeks now on Wrestling Royalty, on here on the Give Me a Whole Year podcast. We've talked about how healthy the WWE product is at the moment, and yeah, whatever's best for business. I'm sure Triple H and Vince both have that in mind. Whatever you think about what Vince is going through, quote unquote, at the moment. Andy, I'm pretty sure I know your thoughts on all there and thereabouts. The WWE product at the moment is going from strength to strength, isn't it? Certainly creatively.
Yeah, I think we're also in. You got to remember, we're in that area of the year where more people tune back in. I think it's kind of, the date is there to suggest that fans seem to dip out after WrestleMania. Between WrestleMania and SummerSlam is the kind of lowest ebb, I guess, of viewership numbers, and then it builds up again around Royal Rumble is when it really kind of hikes back up again. You get the odd spike, like for SummerSlam, you get the odd spike for Survivor Series, etc. But really, this is where eyes are on the product, and you just have to look as far as what happened at the Royal Rumble. All over the Royal Rumble, there were stories being told. Even inside, say like the men's Royal Rumble match itself, it's the first time in a long time I can remember there being multiple storylines going in and coming out of it, rather than there just being throwaway. I think. One of the things I spoke about with John on our Rumble recap was the reason why there probably wasn't many surprises or kind of old school, people being brought back, is because of the faith that Triple H has in the stories that he's telling and the roster he has. They didn't need to rely on it as they have done in previous years. They're not throwaway stuff. Yes, we've got Booker T as a one-off, but we have more stories, and he's shining more of a light, which just is testament to, as you say, how good the product actually is at the moment, all the way through. You managed to talk yourself into potentially staying up for NXT just by going through 2 of the matches, so something's going right.
Yeah, you make a very, very good point. And actually, the more over the week, the more I've thought about what you've just raised there, that it is testament to the creative work of Triple H that they didn't need to bring lots of people in to lots of surprises in. That does, yeah, it makes so much sense that they didn't, because they didn't need to. As we're currently just reflecting about this sort of clash at the Coliseum, the Judgment Day. And the Judgment Day with a racing driver. So you have Rey Mysterio with another guy, Clint, whatever his name is, and then there's another driver on the side of the Judgment Day, and they're talking about some kind of battle. Not a clash at the castle, but a clash at the Coliseum.
This is the first real crossover of Fox that I've seen. Like, yes, they mention it now and again, but this is the first real time that I've seen two Fox products collide for any extended amount of time. So we're seeing Rey and Dominic Mysterio join forces with a NASCAR driver each, by the looks of it.
Yeah, nice. Very interesting, yeah. Very interesting. And you've got Michael in there, who's a Daytona 500 winner. You've got another racing driver in there talking to Dominic Mysterio. Both of them they're going to have a race. They're going to have it looks like they're going to have an actual clash in terms of racing around the track. Very, very cool. Yeah, again, nice clash of products. And again, probably testament to where WWE's collective head is at in terms of sponsorship, whether we like it or not. There's a lot of money in this for WWE, and it would be probably from a business level, from a business standpoint, very foolish to turn it down. These kind of collaborations, whether pure wrestling fans like it or not, Andy.
Yeah, I think it was very telling in the press conference after Royal Rumble where Triple H was very pointed in his remarks saying this is the most profitable, like the money that's been brought in from sponsorships is the highest it's ever been at any event previously. So they are definitely looking at capitalizing on every aspect they possibly can. And this being in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Coliseum for NASCAR, they're definitely kind of there's a lot of things tying in together. So it's kind of cool that they're doing it in a way that makes sense as well, rather than just a really daft sort of segment. But I can't imagine they're going too fast, because I think the insurance for NASCAR driving would be is way beyond what we can imagine. But we see Rey Mysterio getting there just ahead of Dominic to pick up the checkered flag.
Yeah, love that. And I like this kind of, it is like a bit like a video game. You've got the trash talking between Rey and Dom as well. Obviously, the New Day now we're celebrating with Rey, the face getting across that finish line, over the heel. The cocky heel losing out to Rey Mysterio. That again, WWE, you could tell what they were going to do with that. They were going to have Rey win. The New Day, of course, celebrating as well. It's a way for Rey to get one over Dom. Maybe we'll see again Judgment Day versus New Day and Rey. That's great. Rey, Dom throwing his helmet at Rey, and I mean, that's an interesting question to ask, and we've kind of forgotten about it and stopped thinking about it because we haven't had it for a while. But are we getting Dom Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania? Is that a thing we could get, Andy?
Yeah, I think so. It's something I've kind of had on my, fantasy booking, I guess, card for WrestleMania is I think we could see a hair versus mask match where it's effectively a retirement match in all but name. Especially when you look at, Dominic's got his kind of mullet and he's definitely growing out of his hair. Whereas I think Rey picked up an injury apparently against Karrion Kross last week on SmackDown, which is the real reason why he wasn't in the Rumble. And we got a random 29-man Rumble in the end.
Yes.
By him not showing up. So I can definitely see Rey kind of thinking, I'm getting older and maybe it is time to have that match before you can't really do it too much justice.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I do wonder if we'll get a kind of mask versus, well, you just call it mask versus mullet rather than mask versus hair.
Yeah, mask versus. Yeah, great branding. Jedi Knight is. You can watch us anywhere in the world. You can watch us from anywhere in the world. And thank you, Jedi Knight, for joining us. Appreciate it. Quick question: if Hunter took charge sooner, do you think the AEW would hang on? If Hunter took charge sooner, do you think AEW would exist? And if still would have it been as popular? Absolutely, absolutely. In fact,
Hell
I
of a
imagine.
question, though.
Yeah, it's a great question, Mark, as always, with these wonderful questions from Mark and the rest of the community. Mark is, of course, just signed up to support us as well. We'll go through the options for you guys in a second. So thank you, Mark, for your questions and your support. I mean, it's a very interesting one, Andy. Absolutely, I think AEW would exist. In fact, I think it's almost directly. I mean, competition is good. And I think that's what's inspired WB to change things up. Obviously, there were other external factors to make such drastic changes, to sort of the programming and the style. But yeah, I think AEW would exist without question. Cody would have come back because, of course, Vince was involved in that. So for me, I think AEW would still exist, and it would still be, and I'm glad it thrives. It's certainly not doing as well as it was doing during that sort of down period for WWE, sort of earlier part of last year, earlier to mid part of last year. But I'm talking about AEW here. But because obviously WWE's picked up so much momentum again, but it's still a wonderful alternative. And let's not forget, because we're not sponsored by them or supported by them financially, but I certainly have a big place in my heart for Impact Wrestling, and other wrestling organizations like MLW. I think any competition, however, GCW as well, is great. Any wrestling organization that isn't perhaps, it's not going to be direct competition financially for your WWE, but certainly it will inspire Triple H, inspire the wider WWE machine to up its game. So in essence, I know I've waffled. I am very overtired, and Andy's much more. I was going to say Andy's much more succinct than I am, so I might just let him answer all your questions from now on. I think AEW would still exist, and it would be as popular. Yeah, Andy, do you want some thoughts on that one, dude?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with some of what you said, because I do feel like when you look at the roster of AEW, I think that would be the biggest thing that would be impacted had Triple H been in charge earlier, because I don't think he would have let people like Adam Cole go. I think he would have kept the majority of Undisputed Era together and eventually brought them up. It depends. I guess a lot of it in this kind of alternate timeline is, where do you see Triple H will have taken over? Because it's, could he have still had John Moxley in his kind of Dean Ambrose form? I'm pretty sure he would have been able to keep him there. Daniel Bryan. I think there's a lot of names there.
There's another one.
Andrade. But then you'd still have AEW, but I think it would be a lot closer to what it was when it first launched. When it was kind of more of their own names before they kind of signed a few talents that were out of contract over on WWE. But it's speculation, really, and as I say, it all kind of depends on where you go from the timeline when he took over, because I think the one thing I would definitely agree with is they need the competition. Even now, even if they're not doing as well as some AEW fans and diehards would hope they would be in terms of figures and viewing figures, etc. That having that competition means you can't slip, you can't falter, you can't rest on your laurels, which I think WWE did for too long. And part of the reason why we enjoy it as much as we are now is because they have that fear of there is a competition, and if it wasn't there, then they would slip back into it. So I think it's a good thing for everyone for there to be impacts, for there to be AEW and everything else besides as well, because that way it's something for everyone, and I think that's to be applauded.
Absolutely. As we see Charlotte, then thank you very much for that viewpoint, and very succinct, explanation there. Very, very cool. Again, for those that are interested, Andy does some wonderful features over on Rush on Rock, which I'll put a link to in the comments as well. You also have Wrestling Royalty on YouTube as well. Andy's a very, very talented writer. Again, very, very clear, concise with his points. Very interesting style as well. So go and check out Rush on Rock. for wrestling features, for music features, as well as we say thank you to Everything Pro Wrestling, who says, hey Dom, coming through to show some love and leave a like on the video. Keep pushing out the content. Will do, man. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much, all of you, for being here. There's 10 people in. If you could like the video, if you haven't yet, that'd be really awesome. Helps out the old algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. We've just hit 1,500 subscribers. So thank you so much for checking that out. We've just started doing shorts as well over on here and our TikTok. So I mean, never did I think I would have a TikTok for my for the wrestling podcast, but these are interesting times. So go and check us out on TikTok, and of course check out.
Have you done a dance yet?
I've not done a dance yet. No, I mean I'll do a little one for you, just for you, but you know,
can we clip this up? Can we clip this afterwards and put that as a short?
There you go. If we're gonna do, if we're gonna do a short, you have to do one as well. We'll do a little post Smackdown stream dance for you guys.
I wish I hadn't suggested it now.
No, man, no, you've suggested it. It's 1:47 in the morning, mate. Anything goes at this time. We're the we're the weirdos that are up at 1:47 watching wrestling. So we can do a little dance. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to see me and Andy do a little dance. Whether you clip it or not is irrelevant. I'm still tempted to do it. Hassan, I'm sorry that we haven't done your vote yet. I promise we'll get to it. Just give me a second. I have been doing other things like talking about wrestling. Bear with me a second. Where are we? Right, okay, let's do your vote for you. Not for Hassan, for everybody. So you guys said Strowman and Ricochet 80% to win the last one. Well done. You guys got that right. I'm pretty sure a lot of us thought the same. So thank you guys so much for your votes on that. Strowman and Ricochet getting the 80% win over Imperium in your for Charlotte and Sonya. I think, Andy, is this a foregone conclusion? Sonya Deville is great, but is she on Charlotte's level at the moment?
No, absolutely not. And yes, It is a foregone conclusion. It's a really difficult one because unless we see Rhea come out, I don't really understand the point of having this match because they're not going to swerve to have Sonya versus Rhea at WrestleMania at this stage. It would be one of the shocks of the century. I would have it down as, to be honest. So this is just to kind of keep Charlotte a bit busy. I know there was a little bit of kind of backlash of having Charlotte on the Royal Rumble artwork on the poster when she wasn't involved at all. But it's nice to see Sonya get a little bit of a bit more of a rub and having someone involved in the title picture. But then again, like we had Liv Morgan had a very good showing in the Royal Rumble, but we yet to kind of see anything follow up for her as well. So I just can't see anything past the Charlotte win here.
I think you're absolutely right. Again, it's interesting to see Charlotte in this face role as well. Going against Sonya as a proper heel. But an interesting question is, as we're seeing, Charlotte, seemingly going over with the crowd and doing fist bumps to people as she comes out. That's not going to remain in this feud with Rhea, though. Rhea is a heel, but technically, but I mean, if you put Rhea and Charlotte together, I mean, Rhea's the face, right? It's an interesting, interesting dynamic. I'm very interested to see what they do with that, because
there's definitely been a sort of soft change in the water when it comes to the Judgment Day as a whole, and again, they're kind of stuck because they've still got to have the payoff with Edge and Beth Phoenix at some point. But you've also got them slowly transitioning to a sort of like almost cool heel, maybe into sort of tweener territory as well. Because as you say, people do not want to see Charlotte as a face. It just doesn't work. She's the perennial bad guy or bad woman, as it were. And Rhea's got that cool factor. She does have a lot of support. So it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks how they slowly kind of intertwine that, because Rhea's built with a heel faction and is kind of still the heel. So they've got a lot of work to do to try and balance this out, because I don't think it's possible to make people hate Rhea as much as they're going to hate Charlotte, or love to hate, I should say, is the better way of saying that.
Very, very true. It's such an interesting time, to sort of look at these dynamics as we head into WrestleMania. Rhea is going to get such an explosive reaction, and Andy, we are going to be there to see it. My very first WrestleMania, and I'm going to be spending it with some of the coolest people, including yourself and obviously Anthony, Dan, Sam. They're all going to be here. Most of our crew will be at WrestleMania. Our moderator, Jack, as well, of course. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we're so glad to be there. We will be doing videos from the hotel room, short and concise ones. That's what I've learned in the last week, which I found quite funny, Andy, is I'll do these videos, and obviously on TikTok, they're like 16 seconds, and you've only got 16 seconds. And I'll do like a quick thing, and they get like, loads of views, and here we are sat here. I mean, to be fair, Andy, I don't think Anthony's still here, but if he was, I'd still say this. This show is the best one of the week right here on the Give Me a Whole Yeah podcast. Partly because you've been showing up more recently, which has been great. Having you involved. Obviously, Sam's involved as well. Obviously, I'm here. It is wonderful to have you guys show up every week on Smackdown. It is the best show of the week, and I love doing this, man. I love doing this, and I've forgotten my point again, but I'm basically just putting over how good doing Smackdown with. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, dude. This is so good. You're so good at bringing me back. But I've been doing TikToks, and they're getting still, even though we're doing incredibly well on our Smackdown streams, and obviously Dan's doing well on his Raws. Anthony puts so much work into his AEWs. You do these 16-second videos, man, and they're getting hundreds more views. It's just like, it's not soul destroying, but it's interesting. It's interesting that seems to be the way the world is going. These shorter videos, shorter content now.
Instant gratification. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Getting deep.
I mean, it's good.
7 minutes to 2.
Yeah.
Getting deep at 7 minutes to 2, that people prefer just getting those bite-sized things rather than, these lovely people that have joined us tonight to sit and watch 2 hours of the two of us talking about one of the better shows in the industry at the moment. So thank you for choosing to join us.
Yes.
That's really cool.
It is really cool. We're very lucky, and of course, once again, in fact, while you call the match, I will call the match for a couple of minutes. I will do some plugging for your outlets, Andy, because you have Wrestling Royalty, you have Rush on Rock as well, and again, some quality wrestling coverage. So please do. If you take over for a second, I'm going to go and put your platforms in the comments. If you hear me typing away, I do apologize, guys, but I'm going to make sure that you get a good dose of Andy, since he has given up his time to come and join us. You're an honorary Hulkamaniac, Andy. In fact, well, you are a Hulkamaniac, but you certainly. It's been a pleasure having you present some of these shows and obviously bring your wrestling knowledge in, and obviously keep me on topic, because I get quite excited when you're here. I think it's because of the quality of the conversation. I always enjoy talking wrestling with you.
Well, when you say nice things, I'm tempted just to let you keep talking, just to kind of like to feed my ego at this time in the mornings. It's very nice to hear. But I will let you do your thing, as we are seeing a slightly longer match than I expected between Sonya and Charlotte. So I did see a comment come through before about Charlotte being a very good heel and a face, just like a dad, Ric Flair. Definitely agree with that point. I think the better work of Ric Flair and certainly Charlotte has come when they have been heel. There's something I don't know, like dislikable about someone that good, and very arrogant about who they are and what they can do in the ring, and both Flairs have been exactly that. So and then I don't know, for me, something just doesn't quite land when they're trying to. It just feels a bit false and a bit pushed and fake. when it comes to when they're being faces. And I think, was it Graham? Hello to Graham, who
Yes.
had a message up there before.
Yeah.
Graham Small, morning.
Yeah. Graham is Soundsphere's resident comic book expert. We had a great time talking about the DC slate that James Gunn has been cooking up last night on Soundsphere, over on Soundsphere and Soundsphere Comics, the channel we've just launched. So go and check that out. Graham is a wonderful source of knowledge of comic books, and thank you for joining us, Graham. Charlotte is like her dad, a great heel and a so-so face. Yeah, absolutely. Has anyone tried Mountain Dew Pitch Black? No, I've not. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure we probably can get it, but I've
Let's
not
find it in
tried
LA.
Yeah, let's find it in LA. I hope the goddess Maria Kanellis is okay today after having thyroid surgery. Yeah, Maria's great, and we wish Maria a speedy recovery. Obviously, a great performer who's been across many promotions as Maria. Lovely clothesline there by Charlotte too. A kick out by Sonya. We had a lovely comment there from Norma. Actually, I should tell you, Norma, me and Anthony have planned to go to the whiskey. It's one of Anthony's bucket list things he wanted to do. Obviously, given our musical taste and background and Anthony's love for Motorhead. Obviously, it's one of Lemmy's favorite drinking spots. So we have agreed to go to the whiskey. So we will do our best to take you some footage from there as Charlotte gets a moonsault reverse with a big kick from Sonya. Sonya on the ropes. But Charlotte using her strength to kick out. Once again, guys, go and check out Rush on Rock. I still need to find the Wrestling Royalty YouTube link so I can put that in for everybody. I will do that as soon as I can. I'm bored of this match between Charlotte Flair and Sonya right now. Chris, I think it's been pretty good so far from what I can gather. But again, yeah, not known for blockbuster matches. Neither of these guys. As the figure eight is in, and Sonya has tapped to the figure eight as Charlotte looks like she's grinning from ear to ear. Do you watch NXT, guys?
There you go, Chris is finished. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, it's done. It's done. Finally, the match is over. Yeah,
they heard you.
Yeah, there you go. Do you watch NXT, guys? Persia Porter, not sure you remember her release. She signed with Impact. Guys, she got a chance again. New name, Steph DeLandro. I did see that in brief. I do follow Impact Wrestling. And I did see that in brief. Great signing for Impact. He's doing very well at the moment. They've had Santino Marella is over there now with the Santino gimmick. Raven was just featured back on Impact this past week, and of course the mighty Joe Hendry with probably the most comedic segment of the week, calling Matt Cardona Edge's B word. I would advise Andy, if you don't watch any Impact, go and search for Joe Hendry.
Did you see his retort?
Yeah. I've not seen his retort. No. I'm not seeing that.
Oh, it's they've done like a backstage bit with Matt Cardona
really?
trying his hand at a comedic rap back at him, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's quite well done. So yeah, if you get a chance after this, have a look.
I'll have to check that out as we're recapping Cody's return to wrestling. I should mention we do have interviews with the likes of Charlotte Flair, who we've just seen. We also have interviews with Matt Cardona and like Joe Hendry as well, across platforms from Gimme a Whole Year to Soundsphere. So please go and check out our wrestling interviews section. Right here we have WB interviews, AEW interviews, Impact interviews, GCW interviews, NWA interviews. We've done loads of interviews, so go check them out. I will also put a link to the Soundsphere YouTube in there because until WrestleSphere launches eventually, which it is coming, we're still hosting some of our wrestling content over on Soundsphere. So please go and check out that channel if you've not subscribed to it already. Did an interview with one of my favorite bands earlier today called 100 Reasons. If anybody's checked out, if anybody's never heard of a band from British rock music in the 2000s, go and check out 100 Reasons. They're fantastic, and they're doing a tour, and I'm very excited about it. Do you remember 100 Reasons, Andy? They did.
I can't say I do, but I would say there's more than 100 reasons to go check out Soundsphere at the moment.
There you go, man. Nice, love it. Very well done. and if you like your kind of alternative rock and stuff like that, they were sort of in the 2000s. They were one of the British rock sort of, kind of mainstay bands. They were amazing. Did a lot of supports with the likes of Muse and Incubus and those types of bands. So definitely, if that's your bag, guys, from a musical standpoint, just because it was a bucket list interview I got to do today, so still buzzed off that. As we're still, I knew we'd still be in it. I knew we'd still be talking Cody. I knew Cody would be still on the screen promoting his return. Now, I did a video me and Anthony have been doing in order to go back to the OG Gimme a Whole Yeah podcast, what was just me and Anthony. We've been doing Dom versus Ant videos, and yesterday we talked about whether Cody should win the championship from Roman, and that's a question we will ask you guys in a minute as Roman Reigns is backstage. He is talking a little bit. My headphones didn't work prior to the stream, so I'm going to have to be careful about my volume. But
he's currently asking Jimmy if he spoke to Jey, and Jey. If Jimmy spoke to Jey and Jimmy has said no, he's not heard from him.
I forgot Jey. Yeah, there you go. I'm so used to seeing them together. Didn't even notice Jey wasn't there.
So Roman's worrying about the tag team title match next week, saying you don't walk out on your obligations.
A whole week. They've not heard from Jey. Don't walk out on our obligations, says Roman.
Jimmy's confident that Jey will be there next week. So definitely hinting that we might not see Sami or Jey tonight.
Yeah, Jey is not there. Jimmy reiterating the fact to Roman he hasn't talked to him.
Bear with us while we kind of intently listening to this conversation, as it's understandably one of the bigger angles at the moment.
Yeah. So Jey's not been talking to anybody. Roman quizzing Solo, even saying has he talked to Jey? But no, obviously Solo's not known for his speaking roles on camera, but no reaction there from Solo at all.
With Roman dispatching both Jimmy and Solo because he wants to know where Jey is. As the segment ends with both of those being dispatched to go try and find Jey by the sounds of it.
There you go. Okay, so off they go to find Jey. Roman looking intense as we move on from that segment, guys. As we're getting the Brawling Brutes out here next.
Do you think it's time for the Brawling Brutes to have maybe a bit of a refresh in terms of theme, because they're kind of stuck with Sheamus at the moment, who doesn't seem to be tied too closely anymore?
Yeah, I was just thinking that actually. Yeah, it's an interesting point you make. We've got the Brawling Brutes coming out, as we've just seen again. The Bloodline currently looking for Jey Uso. This is again interesting. Again, we may not see them, but what's interesting is he sent them around the arena to look for Jey. I'm like, well, if he's not there, then what's the point in that? So maybe we see them out there later on. I mean, we've still got just less than an hour left. See, these shows go so quickly because I really enjoy doing these, and 2 hour shows are much more preferable. I have all the respect in the world, particularly for Dan Hargreaves, who covers our Monday nights on the channel, for doing those 3 hours. I mean, Raw has got better. Obviously, we had that wonderful Rhea segment, coming out and challenging Charlotte and a few other things. The return of Carmella, if that's your thing as well, on Monday Night Raw. But yeah, I really feel for him when we do 2 hours of SmackDown. It goes by pretty quickly, usually, even though it is tiring. As we're looking at the New Day package now. Big E, Kofi, of course,
I think it's
Kofi
Black History Month, isn't it? It's February,
course.
so it means WWE goes down there, relives some of the bigger moments in their for their Black History Month every February. So we just saw Kofi's win and speaking to Big E and seeing the kind of some behind the scenes and reactions and things to when he won the title at WrestleMania. This WrestleMania, actually.
Yeah, of course.
Over in New York.
What was that? In New York. Oh, we got a package for Jake Paul, Logan Paul, now as well. Oh no, this isn't to do with wrestling. This is a break. But you'd forgive me because of all the Pauls, and of course Tyson Fury are very heavily involved in WWE still. So I do apologize. We are on a break. We're not getting Logan Paul or Tyson Fury on this SmackDown. Frankie Kazarian signed to Impact. Yes, indeed. Yeah, great signing for them. Wonderful talent. Michael has gone spare. No worries, mate. Have a rest. I may see you tomorrow night. I think it's looking more and more likely as the minutes go by. Were you surprised we didn't see Nick Aldis, Matt Cardona, Eric Young in the men's Rumble? I thought we would. Wonder where Nick Aldis is going then. Impact. I still think we could see him. You know, it's the same with Jay White. Jay White was one of my picks, my surprise picks. You know, I still think we could see them. Possibly not till the night after Mania.
Well, big yawn from Dom. You can tell we're getting into the weeds tonight. We're at 2 o'clock, past 2 o'clock. So it's
yeah, man,
getting on a bit now.
Yeah, feeling it. But yeah, so we're getting, we could get Jay White, we could get Nick Aldis post Mania. We could get them next week, mate. You know, the WWE's been bringing back people during, Raw, during SmackDown. We could get Nick Aldis debut on a Raw, and it wouldn't feel like a terrible thing. It wouldn't feel like, maybe Nick Aldis, you would hope would debut on a pay-per-view, and you would also hope that maybe not Eric Young, Matt Cardona, you would probably hope would debut at a major show. I love Eric Young, so I'd like to see him have that rub as well, especially if they're bringing back the return of Sanity. If they're going to have Sanity return, I think they've been teasing that a little bit with Nikki Cross. But all those names, I think they will have their time in WWE again. Obviously, Matt Cardona is currently embroiled in a feud with one Joe Hendry in Impact Wrestling. So I know they pre-tape a lot of that stuff, but certainly I would imagine he's still involved in that in some form until his contract is up. Obviously, Chelsea Green is now in WWE, Matt Cardona's partner. But obviously, she was referenced in that Impact promo just last week. So, these things take time, and we may see all those names in WWE soon. Still think Young Cardona will show up after Mania. Could do. I could see Butch getting an injury angle and maybe turn back to Pete Dunne. Yeah, interesting point there, Mark. One of my quickest but favorite interviews, actually. Got the most out of Butch in a very quick amount of time when we did our Clash at the Castle interviews. Andy was there as well doing some great work. Butch gives a really good interview. He's a good person to chat to. We Rally says, best storytelling in all wrestling for years, AEW, WWE, Impact, Bloodline. Do you agree with me, Dom and Andy? So are you saying that this is the best storytelling in wrestling? So the best time for storytelling in wrestling history? That's what that sounds like to me.
I think you're saying the bloodline angle is the best storytelling in wrestling for years.
Right. Okay.
I think is what he's saying there.
Okay.
Which personally, I'll jump in on that one. You can see my thoughts on the particular events after the main event of the Royal Rumble on RussianRock.com. I did a deep dive feature on how that made me feel. 100% agree. I can't think of another storyline within possibly even the last decade that comes even close to the story that's been told here. There's a lot of different aspects on it, so it's so wide ranging, and it's something that made me think. And this might be a really outlandish statement that I've been kind of resonating on for the last couple of days. Is it possible for a wrestling storyline or wrestling show to ever be even nominated for an Emmy? Because I would argue that what they do is incredibly difficult. And I don't know if there's sort of guidelines it doesn't fall into, but that's how high I would hold this. Is to personally, I think the performances of this storyline are Emmy worthy. I have watched TV programs that I don't feel half as strongly about as I do what happened on Saturday night.
I agree, mate. And I think Stephanie, when Stephanie was still with the company, was talking about that and talked about WWE winning Emmys. A couple of people have referenced it. I certainly think it's not beyond the realms of possibility, and I'd be interested to see if WWE do fit the category for that. If anybody's done any research on that and wants to shed some light on whether WWE do qualify for that, it'd be interesting to know. I will do your poll just now, Hassan. Bear with me. I will get that for you. Viking Raiders or Brawling Brutes? I actually have my gut instinct actually says the Viking Raiders might take this. Andy, your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I agree. The Viking Raiders need a win here, definitely more than the Brawling Brutes. They need a fire lit under them from somewhere, and I think this is probably a good starting point for them to get a win with their belts. I think the Braun and Brutes are kind of in a little bit of a spiral as to where they go from here, because although people very much enjoy Butch/Pete Dunne, I get from that question before, or that statement before, I wouldn't be mad at seeing Pete Dunne just come back and uses his normal name, such as Piper Niven got her name back at the Rumble as well, which was nice to see, and she can just kind of be herself rather than Dewdrop. I think the nice thing for Butch is that he's not really moved too far away from who he is. It's just a name. So, but having that name of Pete Dunne back, I think would lend him quite well into going into the mid-card scene for now. So seeing him go out on, for the IC title or the US title, I could definitely see. But right now we're getting him staring down at, what are they calling Sarah Logan at the moment?
Valhalla.
I thought it was, and I backed out of going for it, and I'll bow to your expertise.
Valhalla's, exactly. There you go, got the stare down, and then the Viking Raiders taking advantage of that. Viking Raiders, of course, a great tag team, a wonderful indie tag team. Obviously getting that shot in WWE and making a good go of it. Viking Raiders, obviously, going through some questionable gimmicks and bowling with the Street Profits and stuff like that. But again, still keeping their job, still doing a great job. With whatever they've been given, I think.
Yeah, I did see an interesting some news that apparently when they were going down that angle with Street Profits, and they had was it Ivar, who was the sort of ladies' man, and he seemed to just kind of, the women in the angle would kind of swoon over him. That they originally were going to go down an angle of he was on an only Viking site, but they backed out because it was too close to OnlyFans.
Oh, no way. Well, that's yeah.
But yeah, back to their kind of more War Raiders angle or kind of persona that they had before, and having Sarah Logan, who is married to she's married to Eric, right?
Yeah, we'll just check that. But certainly Sarah Logan
probably shows you everything you need to know. When I keep getting confused as to which one Eric and Ivar actually is.
Yeah, so he's married to Eric. Married to Eric.
Yep.
We well, it's good to fact check. It's all good.
Yeah. I would hate to spread rumors and an innuendo on your show.
It's all right, man. It's all good. We've this is again our platform to be a little sillier than in other places, and we certainly enjoy a little bit more creative freedom right here on the Give Me a Hug Yeah podcast. We've heard some rumors spread. We've had arguments. We've played some games, haven't we? Some questionable games over the pandemic. We had a guest, and we had to guess the nipple. Right, we had a wrestler that we put up, and you had to guess him by the nipple. So there you go. You can see all sorts on the Give Me a Whole Yeah Wrestling podcast.
And who was the expert on that one? Who came out victorious?
That was Anthony. That was Anthony. We had Yokozuna's nipple. We had who else do we have? Who were the other nipples we got? I think we had Eric Young's nipple in there somewhere. You just find a promo shot of all these wrestlers and performers, and I think just to keep everybody in high spirits during the pandemic, we were trying to be as silly as we possibly could, and that was one of the games that we quickly started and then finished. Once we realized it was we had better things to do, like call the action, which is what we are going to be doing once we get back from this break. But yeah, we are known to be a little bit silly on the podcast, but we certainly have a lot of good times as well. A lot of good times, covering the action. We talk about NXT, which like I say, I will look at my diary and I will we'll figure out whether I'm going to be able to do it. But Gallus are on NXT now, of course, one of the stand-up tag teams from NXT UK. Grayson Waller facing Braun Breaker in the steel cage. It's going to be good.
The card looks good for Vengeance Day, and I know they've been doing their media call. Shawn Michaels took place, I believe, earlier today, and or I think it might have been even the day before. And they're expecting around 5,000 fans in attendance in Charlotte. So, and I will just just gratify that with, it is Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm not going down any kind of rude way there. It's 5,000 fans in Charlotte, North Carolina, are going to be attending Vengeance Day. So I know we talked about it earlier, just as the match continues between Brawling Brutes and Viking Raiders. I don't see Braun Breaker dropping the title tomorrow. I think they'll leave that for the Stand and Deliver event on WrestleMania weekend. Personally,
nice. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Well, big spot here for Ridge the Fridge.
Ridge the Fridge. Yeah.
In a sort of, I guess, like Alabama Slam style lift up of Ivar, who's not the smallest of guys. That's quite a feat of strength. That.
Yeah, absolutely. Ivar getting that Ridge the Fridge, of course. Yorkshire's own Ridge the Fridge from Wakefield, I believe, close to that. I used to play rugby for Hull as well. Yeah, so nice little spotlight for Ridge to be in here as he's going for something on Ivar, like a German, no reversed. Ivar with these back elbows. Furious.
Hate that knee. Hate that knee so much. Like, I just think it looks ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's overused as well, isn't it? Quite a lot. Yeah.
It's it's overused, and like, I don't complain about moves very often, but that one in particular, when you see it, it's very obvious that he claps his knee, so he kind of forces his hands down, but it's not one that looks very good, and I don't know why they persist with it.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Very interesting point. To me, Sami is the star of the storyline. Roman only has to show anger and be peed off. Sami has to show a whole range of emotions. Good, yeah, interesting Norman there. Eric, he can't lose at Stand and Deliver 2 years in a row, right? Oh, okay. Did he lose at Stand and Deliver last year? Interesting. Thank you for that, Mark. Thank you for your perspective.
He's been booked very strong though over on NXT as Braun Breaker. The only time I really remember his loss was to Dolph Ziggler, which is a very random storyline that they ran with, where Dolph Ziggler was the NXT champion.
Which was
since regaining the title, he's actually been probably one of the more dominant champions we've had in NXT. And I don't know. I think he could lose Stand and Deliver probably to Carmelo Hayes, because I can imagine. Personally, there is a preview going up tomorrow over on Russian Rock about NXT. I think Carmelo Hayes wins the 2 out of 3 falls match against Apollo Crews, and I think it'll be a very good match. I think that's the way that they'll go with Stand and Deliver, because they'll have a big following there, and one of the more vocal crowds with the international crowd being there. So one to watch out for tomorrow. We'll see how wrong or right I am.
Very, very good point, mate. Very, very good point. Yes, absolutely. Could see that big powerbomb. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Viking Raiders getting a much needed win. As Andy said, much needed there for the Viking Raiders, guys. Let us know if you're pleased with that win in the comments. And Andy, yeah, definitely, as you said, not meaning to take the win from your sails. Very, very the right call. As good as Ridge and Butch have been the last few weeks and months, the Viking Raiders really did need this.
Yeah, and then I think I might be slightly ahead because we see Drew McIntyre and Sheamus come out to try and gain some level of retribution for them disrupting their tag team tournament progress.
I've just got Drew coming out now, so I'll refresh my stream if you call the action.
Yeah, so we're seeing a brawl after the Brawling Brutes between the Viking Raiders and whatever they're now calling themselves. They're not calling themselves Banger Bros due to sponsorship. I don't know. The sponsors got involved basically and said that it's not really a title that we want them to have. It's too closely aligned with a certain website, which I'm sure some people will be aware of. No comment as to whether myself or Dom know of it too well. But we see Sheamus and Drew McIntyre standing tall after dispatching the Viking Raiders. So any progress that they've just got by beating the Brawling Brutes instantly thrown out the door by then getting their asses handed to them by the ex-Banger Bros.
Yep, the ex-Banger Bros indeed. And we're on a break now, guys. It's been a good SmackDown. I'd be very disappointed, Andy, if we didn't get some more Bloodline stuff. And of course, I'm particularly keen as to whether we see some Bray Wyatt stuff tonight, because I really do think that needs some exposition quickly as we head into WrestleMania season. We are getting. Hang on a second. I believe I've refreshed my stream and I've ended up.
We're getting a replay or a rerun of the Pitch Black match now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna refresh my, because I ended up somewhere else there. I think I ended up on the previous week's SmackDown. I was watching Karrion Kross and Rey Mysterio with them for a second there. So let me just can you call the action for a sec while I figure out what exactly
certainly
I am.
Can.
What's wrong with my stream?
As Dom deals with some technical difficulties, we are currently seeing a sort of recap of the Pitch Black match, which is, let's face it, they could probably show the entire match during the recap if they wanted to, but we are getting an abridged version as we see Uncle Howdy completely missed the elbow drop, but done to LA Knight for kind of shuffling a little bit further forward. I very much enjoyed the mask that Bray put on.
Right,
very Dr. Facilia from Princess and the Frog looking. Disney shout out there as we see a rocking chair with Bray stopped by Uncle Howdy.
Right,
and that's it. That's all we see.
Very far behind. I'm currently still on the bloody BT spot. I'm currently. I've just come back, and there's the rocking chair. So there's Bray rocking back and forth. Just. Whoa! That made me jump. That legit made me jump. I've got this. I'm quite jumpy, Andy, as you can tell. That legit caught me off guard. Sorry about that, guys. I seem to be quite far behind for whatever reason. I'll try and refresh again.
We see Shotzi coming out in the tank, which, as we're about to head to a break, it is announced that there's going to be a fatal four-way qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber for the women coming up next. So I didn't quite catch that. I think it was Shayna and at least Shotzi. Maybe Liv Morgan.
Shotzi, Natalya, Zelina, and Shayna. So Natalya, Shotzi, Shayna, and Zelina. Great to see Zelina in more in-ring action as well. Zelina very talented. Very, very talented indeed.
Especially having the Street Fighter was quite cool. She is a big gamer, a big cosplay fan. And seeing her get that little spot, at the Rumble was cool because there was another kind of commercial tie-in that they had. So interesting to see those different aspects or fandoms come into play. So more power to her for getting to kind of do something quite fun and tied in, and also appear at the Rumble, because she has been overlooked. She's very capable in the ring, as we've seen previously.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
What's your take on? I know as we're in a break at the moment with NXT Vengeance Day tomorrow. What's your take in general of the state of NXT? And kind of as we go into another live show for a change.
Yeah, interesting question. I loved NXT in the days of Ciampa and Gargano, of course, as many people did. The black and gold brand. NXT 2.0 really took a dip for me, but certainly things have improved, I would say, since Triple H, Shawn Michaels, of course. Well, Shawn Michaels more readily has been in control of NXT. I've really enjoyed, for example, Carmelo Hayes, and I know he was an NXT 2.0 product, but Carmelo Hayes has come into his own. Same with Bron Breakker as well. So actually, if I was to watch tomorrow, I'd be looking forward to it. I've certainly enjoyed. I enjoyed the Toxic Attraction stuff too. Of course, we've got both members of Toxic Attraction, both the remaining members, facing off against each other tomorrow in a triple threat with Roxy or Roxanne Perez. So that'll be an interesting one. So in short, mate, what do I think of NXT? I've enjoyed it more in the last few weeks and months than I have done for the last 2 years, certainly. You?
Yeah, I tend to agree, and I'd also love to hear from anyone who's watching what their thoughts on NXT, whether you actually watch it or not. Be really interested to hear what people have got to say about NXT in particular. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to see where they go from here, because they've started to get a little bit more momentum behind them. So be interesting how moving forward, do we continue with Braun? Do we give him one last kind of big title match? I know the New Day being there has been, some people love it, some people hate it. So very interesting to see how that goes tomorrow. I think they're just there to really give a bit of rub to the NXT tag team division, because I'm with you, my favorite era, and to the degree where I considered getting the NXT logo as a tattoo from the black and gold era. I was all in on NXT back in the day, from pretty much when it started of its own show, not when it used to be NXT running around the ring with, kegs and the like, but from when they moved into Full Sail, the sort of glory days of Adam Cole, and one of the best wrestling events I've ever seen, live or otherwise, was that New Orleans takeover. Top to bottom was incredible, and the stories that we're telling, and even having Aleister Black win the title in New Orleans was incredible, and the ladder match, and so much kind of good stuff going on. To then see, I never kind of fell out of love with it as much as other people did, but it definitely dipped in quality somewhat, and really suffered as a result of, I guess, being made as a pawn in the AEW versus WWE rivalry as it started up. Really hurt its momentum. So it is nice to see that they found their own kind of niche. They're going down it. There's much more character work going on, which I think suited maybe the end days of Vince McMahon being on creative. So it's interesting to see if they'll switch back again into being more wrestling focused or not. But you've got people like Chase University really over with the crowd that goes there in the Performance Center. I've been lucky enough to attend an NXT taping while I was across in Orlando, and it's definitely an experience to sit amongst those fans who are there week in, week out. They're almost like a family. So when they have their favorites, they're very open. When they don't like someone, and which was the case for MSK, they for whatever reason didn't take to them, but then now Wesley's on his own, they seem to be back again. So lovely to see NXT find its niche, and I really hope people tune in tomorrow and in the build up to Stand and Deliver, because they're doing some great work and they've got some good young talent on there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
it's great to get your perspective as someone that's been to one of those tapings. That's wonderful to hear. Again, that sort of family environment. As we're going into this match, so you've got Zelina Vega, you've got Shotzi, you've got Natalya, and you've got Shayna. I mean, I want Shotzi and I want Zelina, but you've got to say, potentially got to think that Shayna's got to be in the mix here, Andy, and this is potentially quite an exciting match. We'll come back to the Bray Wyatt stuff in a bit. I think that's something we could talk about at the end. Obviously, we've got certainly some Bray Wyatt detractors in the comments that are typically not fans of Bray. Batista has stated he's trying for a 2023 Hall of Fame induction. Okay, cool. Not sure there's a plan.
Yeah, one of the other ones, by the way, was rumors that I saw today. Was it's locked in that we're going to get a women's tag team championship match between Ronda and Shayna are going to challenge for the women's tag team titles. So
nice, yeah,
maybe
that'd be cool.
Maybe we don't see Shayna here if they're going to save it for Dakota Kai and Io
there you go,
Sky.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, interesting that. Yeah.
But,
right.
Yeah, I guess like it depends here. Like maybe we go with Zelina's getting a little bit of a rub, or maybe we will see someone like Shotzi or Natalya go ahead. But difficult one to call this. So I'd be interested to see did we get a poll for this one going?
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what people think.
I'm on it right now. We're gonna get this in as quickly as we can.
Well, you're okay for a couple of minutes because we have gone to a commercial break. So we'll get at least 2 minutes of what people will reckon.
There we go. So Natalya, Shotzi, Shayna, and who else is in there? I've literally Zelina. There you go. Thank you very much. Cool. Yeah, for some reason tonight I am way behind you. Even if I refresh, I'm at least 2 or 3 seconds.
BT Sport is like appreciate someone in the UK covering it, but the app is absolutely awful. Most weeks I can't even get NXT to work. It'll tell me that it's I can't get this content in the country, and I'm like, well, I'm in the UK. I'm not trying to watch it anywhere else. So.
Yeah, that's a real shame. Yeah, I had so many issues logging in when I first got it, but it beats the alternative. When we first started doing live streams, it certainly feels a little better doing it this way. So we're all sorted now. Right, let's get to some of these break comments while we're in the break, because obviously Mark there talking about Macho Man's brother, of course, Lanny Poffo passing away. Our respects in our small way to the Poffo family at this time, of course. Todd is again one of the biggest Bray detractors in the chat weekly. Obviously, we've got a lot of love for Todd as well. Saw Todd joined at the end of Anthony's AEW stream as well. Nice to see you there. Did that move the Bray storyline at all? Yes, I suppose it did, because I guess we're seeing Bray and Howdy come together. Bray and Bo come together. So I suppose yes. Technically, Norma agrees with Todd. Didn't move it before. Evidently, Howdy gets no airtime. Why is this so dragged out? Yeah, it's a weird one. What do you think, Andy? I mean, it is. I mean, I've tried to defend it, and for those that know, obviously, I co-host now the Insiders weekly podcast. It's the only weekly show on YouTube that does a dedicated Bray Wyatt show, and I'm like the voice of reason there. I'm like the party pooper. They're all very, this is so creative, this is so interesting, and I'm like, well, actually, that's fine, but it has to appeal to the wider audience. It has to appeal to people that aren't Bray Wyatt fans. It has to appeal to the casuals, and this is not what's happening here. So it's an interesting one. Keep your Bray Wyatt comments coming in, and we will obviously get back to them at the end
Yeah, I
Sorry,
don't
guys.
think we're going to get any more tonight about that. I think that's as much as we will get. But they're kind of stuck in between a bit of a rock and a hard place to play devil's advocate here, because there was a lot of comments saying that it was stretching out. Well, this week they're giving you a bit of a breather. You got 10 seconds. So this week they're not going to drag it out. They're just kind of taking a bit of a break, I guess, as it were. But just at least featuring him in some sort of respect, because there are people, that are doing podcasts and things on Bray Wyatt, and they need their content, and just 10 seconds is better than nothing. So there'll be people who are kind of going in for it. They don't want people to forget about him, but at the same time, I think after what's happened and the kind of long drawn out process that people complained about, that was probably as smart a choice as they could have made, really, without going straight into another one that will then kind of rumble on until probably WrestleMania. They need to let it breathe a little bit and let him kind of be on the cusp of something happening. That's probably what they've done there, I would imagine, in terms of booking. You can't really have LA Knight come straight back on, because then it kind of no-sells what they did at the end of that match, and you don't really want Bray jumping straight back into something without it being fully cooked. I'd also argue that we're talking about how good the Bloodline storyline's been. Well, how long's that been going on for? But it progresses slightly more each week than that storyline did. But you've got to let them, as the kids say, you got to let them cook. You got to let them do their thing and kind of see what happens. But we do need it to speed along. The next bit can't be as drawn out as the LA Knight saga was. So I think they need to put their foot on the gas when it's time this time.
Yeah, I agree. And there's Natalya with the win there. Some fans in the crowd very pleased for Natalya. Obviously, Natalya getting that opportunity. A great, big match. Whatever you say about Natalya, she does well in big matches. I think she can perform. She is part of that elimination chamber now, so that is thickening up. You got Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, Natalya, and there's Natalya getting in the crowd there as well. That's cool. So we have another elimination chamber fatal 4-way qualifying match next week on Raw. Candice LeRae meeting Carmella and Piper Niven. Now, wouldn't that be something? Let's have Piper Niven getting that spot, Andy. As we're just recapping now, we're not recapping, rather we've got Paul Heyman backstage with Roman. They're both back. Jimmy and
no joy on the search for Jey.
No joy. Roman doesn't understand what's going on. So I'm reflecting on how good.
Be careful about audio levels here. Just we don't want to kind of get any copyright strikes.
Thank you, mate. Yeah. Yeah, I need to fix my blooming headphones.
Get an apology from Roman Reigns for speaking to Jimmy the way he did. This kind of gaslighting storyline continues as Roman feels his grip loosening ever so slightly.
Very, very interesting. As we head into Elimination Chamber, this Bloodline story is thickening up. Are we going to see Jey back next week with the Usos?
It seems like we're going to get a Roman finish to SmackDown. As he says, he's going to take care of business in the ring after getting some sushi sent to the bus.
Okay. So Roman again getting that big finish, finishing up with the Roman Reigns. So yeah, exciting. I have a feeling they might be about to announce Roman versus Rock for Mania 40. At Mania 39 or just after that. Yeah, maybe they could announce it at the WrestleMania. That's not a bad idea.
I have a horrible feeling people are going to be disappointed when it comes to Roman versus Rock. I'm not convinced that we're going to see it anymore. I think if there was ever a time for it to have happened, it was going to be this year. I would love to see it, but in terms of Mania, I think this was a sort of their big shot. You know, it being LA, the Rock schedule was significantly lighter at the moment. I think in terms of his star power, the Rock's probably suffered his first sort of setback after Black Adam and the kind of like the fallout of DC, changing hands and in terms of creativity wise, and he's not getting the kind of free reign that he would have had. And, the kind of comments of trying to bolster the figures behind it and things like that. I think it was the first time people have questioned the Rock's star power, whereas before he was kind of heralded as a franchise savior in respects to things like Fast and Furious. And I think all those things together made a perfect storm that this would have been the year to see it. I'm not sure if we go another year whether the same demand would be there. I also think it's not the right time for it now anyway, because I think they've got hotter storylines going into it. It'd be interesting to see if Sami gets involved in this last 15 minutes, because we get to see Sami on this SmackDown.
Yeah, that's a really cool point, mate. Yeah, really good point. We could see Sami now. That would make a lot of people happy as we finish SmackDown. But yeah, The Rock, you made, again, fascinating points around The Rock's star power. It would have been the perfect time to bring him back. But they could be swerving us, Andy. They could be. It's not impossible to imagine that they could be swerving us. Possibly. Right?
I just think that I think you're right. I think there is a swerve. I'm just not sure The Rock is it. I think the Jey and the Sami angle is the one to watch, because it all feels, as just bringing it back to what you said at the top of the show, it all feels a bit too easy, this, for Cody Rhodes. Like, it all seems to be very nicely tied up, and it just, for my liking, it needs a little bit of a wrinkle thrown in there somewhere. And Jey and Sami could be that wrinkle in the plans. But I guess the next 15 minutes will go some way to determine that. We obviously, the strong rumors are that, with it being in Montreal, that we'll get a match between Sami and Roman in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah,
so let's see what happens.
That's going to be tasty, man. That's going to be so good. It's going to be so good if they do Sami versus Roman at the Chamber, man. Down with that.
No, Marseille, he can't win a belt. He doesn't have time to defend. I presume that's in relation to The Rock. Yes, agree. I don't think The Rock would come back for an actual title run. I think those days have passed. And yeah, I think also not even just his movie schedule. I believe with the NFL coming to a close, I don't know if it's this weekend or the next weekend. I think it's a Super Bowl. Then we'll see the XFL kick off. So that's supposed to be not far off of the NFL season finishing. The XFL season starts, and obviously he's going to want to be present for that, with it being under his tutelage now.
Yep, indeed. We got a fatal four-way winner faces Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. Santos Escobar, Karrion Kross, Madcap Moss, and Rey Mysterio. So, I mean, Santos has had his time. Has Santos faced Gunther? I mean, you maybe Karrion Kross, but then that's an interesting one. The fatal four-way there of predominantly heels, except for Rey, but Rey's faced Gunther before. So you got Santos in there.
Madcap Moss is a face.
Oh, sorry, Madcap Moss is a face, but I mean, is he going to win that? And it'll be a legitimate challenger for Gunther? I mean, I suppose you could have him go over in that match, but no one's going to buy Madcap
Sorry,
right
my
now.
internet's playing funny there.
Sorry, just saying, no one's going to buy Madcap as a legit challenger for Gunther, are they?
No, I think the only one there that's really an actual challenge, surely, Karrion Kross, will he be helping him in his booking recently in terms of results.
Yeah. I think that's the most mouth-watering match as Paul Heyman hands both belts to Roman Reigns. The Rock has lots of Black Adam movies. The Rock has lots of Black Adam movies. He doesn't need to do any more.
Well, yeah, he got let go by DC, didn't he? So he doesn't have that on his slate anymore.
There you go. Isn't he the exec producer, though? Graham, you said to me last night he's the exec producer of anything Black Adam in the future. So if Black Adam does get resurrected in animation or movies or TV, then The Rock gets gets something out of that. So very good business. Get very good business from for The Rock there. If that is the case, I didn't know he got fired. That's it. I mean, I don't know if that's a bit of a amplification, but I didn't know The Rock got fired from the role. As Roman is coming out now to finish SmackDown. This SmackDown's gone very quickly.
Oh, that's cool. Sorry, just seeing the sort of the WrestleMania graphic in its entirety for the first time. We get a sort of Hollywood Hills going into a movie theater style Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns graphic was very cool. Little notice that of a new T-shirt for Roman Reigns there, just featuring himself and Paul Heyman. No Bloodline on there, which is quite an interesting observation. Looking very sort of almost Godfather-esque in his look on his T-shirt there.
Yes, indeed, as he's raising the ones high up, as is Paul Heyman as well. Very seamless Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns interactions, aren't they? Paul Heyman just hands him things almost like they've got it down to a fine art, like ballet, They know each other's moves. Paul Heyman knows when Roman Reigns is going to move, ready to hand him the belt. It's very, very cool to see, how they work together, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, a combination, Andy, that we probably wouldn't have dreamt about 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah, you would have seen him as there's been many Paul Heyman guys come and go. Obviously, his relationship with Brock Lesnar seemed based that it would probably go forever, and I think at one point their contracts were even tied together. So, yeah, as you say, I don't think it's something we would have conceived 3 or 4 years ago. So I was trying to read what it says on his T-shirt: "Is greatness amongst you," which is an interesting one. I've not actually heard them say that, so it's a new catchphrasing coming potentially.
There you go. Yeah, Roman getting that microphone. Graham making some good points about The Rock. We wouldn't be surprised to see him in Shazam 2. Didn't get fired.
Apparently turned that down. Supposedly, The Rock turned down a cameo in Shazam 2.
Oh, there you go. So we're getting an acknowledge me from Roman. Would be cool if the crowd started chanting, "We want Sami." I don't think we're too far away from that, Norma. After we get past the acknowledge me bit.
He's getting a better reception than I thought he would get, as he was serenaded with "F-U" Roman chants at the end of the Royal Rumble. He seems to be, getting a good reception here in Greensville. Did they say something?
Potentially. Yeah, we want Sami chants going ahead, as Norma called it. Roman wants to talk about Cody Rhodes. Roman saying Cody deserves his attention. Sami does not. Roman says he's been reduced to talking about the past.
By the simple folks that are in attendance tonight. So he's started to turn into his more of a sort of heel promo here.
There's two sides to every story, so you're going to hear mine, Roman, saying that he's going to get his story out. We're going to go back to
Not
War
sure
Games.
if it's mine or your levels. Levels, by the way, just be careful of the volume.
Yeah.
It's
bringing it down. Thanks, dude.
Roman's gone back to War Games and saying that he'd see everything he needed to see. So Roman's cutting the promo based on he sees the same thing in Sami Zayn that he sees every day when he goes into a restaurant and people want to be part of the bloodline or have a part of Roman. And even to this point, when we're only getting started, really, Roman cutting quite a long promo by his standards. He's normally a man of few words and lets Paul Heyman do the talking, but Paul Heyman at this stage is just looking on with a sort of concentrating look on his face.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wait,
and we get Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn attacking Roman. No way. No way, man. So Sami Zayn apparently
Fired up
used...
Sami Zayn.
Yeah, great. So Roman was giving a promo saying how Sami used Roman. And now Roman fighting back on Sami. Roman stomping down on Sami now. So Roman's promo was how Sami used Roman, used the bloodline, and then Sami cut him off. Very surprised. Didn't expect to see Sami here tonight. Nice little end. Are we going to get Sami to cut? Is Sami going to come back? Whoa!
Oh, big spear by Sami Zayn.
Sami just speared Roman.
Michael's right. The place has gone absolutely bonkers for this as well.
What a cool moment. Sami Zayn. This is wicked, man. And Sami went for that. Sami went to hit Roman with the chair. Roman rolled out.
Sami grabbing the mic.
Sami didn't want anything from Roman. Yeah, man! Sami's going for the Undisputed Universal Championship. When?
Oh.
And there's Joe. There's Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. Is Kevin Owens going to make the save, mate? Is Kevin Owens going to make the save? Come on.
Is Jey going to make the save?
I don't know. I don't think Jay's going to make the save yet. I don't think we're going to get anybody making the save. There you go. Solo using the Spike. Yeah. Oh, they're gonna put his neck in the chair, maybe. Come on, Kevin. Come on, Kevin. Otherwise, because this is gonna take him out. This is gonna take him out if no one stops this. Roman stopped
Roman
it.
stops this. Big "We Want Jey" shouts going on from the audience.
Yeah, man. Sami broke up the bloodline, according to Roman. Nice little promo here from Roman, even though it's off mic, just talking to Zayn. Yep. So Montreal is going to be the venue for it. Sami versus Roman, 2 weeks from now.
So, as Dom said, that was a promo without a mic, which I think Roman's probably one of the best people I've seen do that. He seems to be able to deliver his lines without using a microphone, which is very much for the camera at home.
Yeah.
He said that he'll give Sami what he wants as long as he can have what he wants, which is to embarrass Sami and make an example of what happens when you take away or try and stand up to the bloodline. He's going to embarrass him in front of his wife, his children, or his child, his friends and family in Montreal. As we see Roman standing tall and Sami in the corner.
Roman saying Sami who to the crowd. That was a brilliant ending to a decent SmackDown, Andy. I feel quite invigorated by that ending, particularly. Wasn't expecting Sami to be back. Guys, wonderful, pretty decent SmackDown, Andy. Thank you for your time being here. For those that don't know, what we tend to do is we our review roundup. We tend to do our performer of the night, match of the night, and grade for the night. So, Andy, give me your thoughts on SmackDown as a whole. And what grade are you giving it? Who's your performer? And what was your match of the night?
Yeah, I always enjoy when there's a bit of a thread throughout a show, and we did have the bloodline opening and closing and kind of scattered throughout in the kind of backstage area. And I think we got a lot of progression on that front. We got a few, the tag team matches seem to be quite prevalent at the moment, which is nice to see as well. Giving the spotlight to tag team wrestling, which has been woefully overdue in the last kind of couple of years, especially. And then having that women's match in there as well. So I would say a very solid show, probably 3.5. I don't think there was any kind of outstanding matches. I thought the best match was probably the opening one between Ricochet and Braun Strowman versus Imperium. It was enjoyable, but they definitely kept us waiting and saved the best till last there. So really cool to see a fired up Sami Zayn come back. Was probably the moment of SmackDown and delivering that spear and getting a big pop again. So really cool way to kind of progress it. What about yourself?
Very much, mate. Yeah, very much in the same ballpark you are. 3 for me, 3 out of 5. I would say it was a good SmackDown. Again, nothing monumental except for that ending. Except for that was great with Sami coming out. I think match-wise, Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus Imperium. Imperium always do great work, and I'm a sucker for a WWE, thrown together big man, big man, smaller dude tag team. So actually, I'm going to give that for my match of the night. I thought that was good. Nice to see the Viking Raiders get a win as well. On a wider level, though, performer of the night, Roman Reigns was great. And I'm talking about from an acting and performance standpoint. He didn't really say much or do much before that promo, but his facial expressions, his whole mannerism, as an actor and a performer, and we can see, 10 years from now, maybe even sooner than that, him making the transition to Hollywood, because he does have the acting chops, and obviously he's proven that in movies before now. But Roman Reigns is my performer of the night. Absolutely amazing. Great of the night for me, 3 out of 5. And what we're doing. Greater of the night, match of the night, performer of the night. I've done all that. Yeah, match of the night was Imperium and Braun and Ricochet. Yeah, guys, we'll give you guys a few more minutes if you want to get your picks in. So performer of the night, greater of the night, and match of the night. Once again, I will perhaps be back here for NXT tomorrow. I will be away next week as I'm going to Iceland on Friday. So somebody will be here covering SmackDown. I promise it should be a good one with the Usos potentially maybe back together to face to face Strowman and Ricochet. Guys, I'm putting it in early. Ricochet and Strowman to take those titles, man. It could happen. So it's going to be an exciting time next week as we get closer to the Elimination Chamber, one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. I want to say thank you to Impact for joining us there. Graham saying that giving us some fan casting for Booster Gold, which was announced. Obviously, we did that stream yesterday. Some lovely comments. Thank you to Mark for his comments. Norma, of course, as well. For commenting consistently, giving us stuff to talk about. Andy, is there anything you would like to plug before we finish? Anything you want to promote? Because you've got a busy period coming up as well.
Yeah, so in the build-up to Elimination Chamber, the plan is to, as myself and Dom rewatched Royal Rumble 2000 before the Rumble, I'll be delving into an old-school Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Timing-wise, I'd love to have Dom on, so we'll see if the schedules line up on that, and possibly another couple of guests. We'll see what happens on that one. So if while we're still on air here, if anyone has any kind of requests or favorite Elimination Chambers, I'd love to hear from you and see if you can sway me towards one particular pay-per-view or another, or premium live event as they're known now. But in terms of things you can look, there'll be an NXT preview for Vengeance Day going up on rushonrock.com tomorrow. Each week, I'm also unveiling who I think you should watch list, as it were. Nothing seedy, but just who in WWE you should be keeping an eye on this year, ranging from the obvious to the not so obvious. This week's was Sami Zayn, which I had to very quickly retype from when I originally wrote it, as the events of the Royal Rumble changed things somewhat. And as I say, really enjoyed writing a deep dive feature on the events surrounding the main event. So go check that out on rushonrock.com. And I think you were looking for earlier, the YouTube channel for myself is Andrew Spores 6029. I have absolutely no affinity towards those numbers. It was just the YouTube assigned one, unfortunately. So Andrew Spores 6029, if you'd like to kind of follow us on YouTube. A little bit more content coming out each week or fortnightly, and the next big one, as I say, will be in the build-up to Elimination Chamber, where hopefully you'll see Dom join me amongst some other characters as well.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to do that for sure, if we can. I love watching the Royal Rumble back, and like I said, I love the Elimination Chamber. I love the concept. There's been some great ones. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Bray Wyatt winning, of course, and I've got a soft spot, even though everyone else hates it, for the ECW one that they did for the ECW title as well. Even though many people don't like that one. So yeah, keep tabs on Andy's platforms for news on that, and I will make sure we share those if I'm involved in any way. I will share them because we do love to support Andy and our friends within wrestling media and beyond. Andy's an absolute pleasure to have on these shows and keeps me organized. And mate, it's honestly, and obviously you've got a busy few weeks coming up again for yourself personally. And honestly, mate, I'm so excited for you. I'm excited to see you at Mania. I'm excited for so many things we've got coming up together. So, thank you for being here, mate. Honestly, it does really, especially at 3:05 in the morning to experience moments like that Sami Zayn coming out with you and get excited about it, dude. I love it. I love it. It reinvigorates my passion for wrestling,
Well, it's my absolute pleasure to be here. I do enjoy doing it. And it's never a labor, always an honor. So, I'm sure I'll show my face as regularly as possible. But thank you very much for having me, and it's thank you to everyone who's been watching and commenting. It makes the 2 hours absolutely fly by.
It most certainly does. It most certainly does. Once again, guys, if you can support Andy, please do. And thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Anthony will kill me if I don't do it. You can support us if you want. We do have Champion Hulkamaniac tiers. available to support. We have Sassy there who has that. We have no one in our hardcore Hulkamaniac tier yet, but we do have a couple of new people in our other Hulkamaniac tiers. We had Martin join the other day as well. So thank you guys so much. You can support us in that way. You can super chat us if you want in future streams as well. We do. It helps us pay for StreamYards and things like that. So thank you so much for any investment and time that you guys give us. I will be back. I think I'm doing NXT tomorrow, so I'll set that up pretty quickly after tonight. I'll probably set up. So I'll be back tomorrow right here on the Give Me a Hell Yeah podcast. Dan, if you can't make tomorrow, Dan will be back on Monday Night Raw. Anthony will be back on AEW Dynamite, and Sam, who knows? Maybe Andy, who knows, will be there on Friday for SmackDown. You never quite know who's going to be there on SmackDown covering for me. But whatever happens, I'm waffling again. Whatever happens, thank you for being here for us. Thank you for supporting our channel, and thank you for showing up. And guys, it's been a pleasure. Andy, I will see you. I'll see you next time, mate. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you all for watching. This has been SmackDown. We've had a lovely time, and for those watching back, cheers, and for those that have been with us, cheers. And I've said that already. Yeah. Oh, you've got to do the whole thing. Got to do the whole thing. I was like, yeah, cheers. Bye. Okay, ready? We're gonna count down from 5, and we're gonna say hell yeah. We're gonna do the jazz hands, and I'm gonna cue up a video, and we're gonna finish up. See you guys later. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah!
Oh
jazz
yeah!
hands. Dab it.
God, I just listened to this whole podcast. It was terrible. I feel like my ears are gonna bleed.
What'd you say? This is Darby Allin, and you're listening to Give Me a Hell Yeah.